falling peso is a boon for exporters and overseas Filipinos remitting money home to the Philippines. But it is also a bane for consumers here, as everyone has reduced purchasing power with a weakened local currency. The peso falls to a fresh all-time low of 59.15 as it opens Wednesday morning here in the Philippines. The peso's record drop comes as business and labor leaders demand swifter action from the president to make accountable those involved in corrupt practices. With us now for more is Sergio Ortiz-Luis Jr., Honorary Chairman and Treasurer of the PCCI, as well as President of ECOP and PhilExport. Good having you back on, Serge. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to who are watching us this morning.
Right. Well, first off, our eyes are all on the peso's drop to an all-time low, now at 59.15 to the dollar. Being part of PhilExport, how is that benefiting exporters?
Well, if I have a feeling that if you compute the real exchange rate now, and there's a formula to do it, it might cut out at 60 pesos to a dollar. We have been always trying to depress the exchange rate, and I think we are forgetting the fact that a lot of Filipinos depend on the strong dollar now than the peso. How many OFWs do we have? You multiply it by a family of 5, and those are depending on that. Exporters, we wanted to grow export, and there were glorious days during the time of FBR, but now it's less than 30% share of the GDP, with less than our neighbors had, because we are not that competitive and we don't support export. And also tourism. We are lagging behind in tourism. We are lagging behind in domestic manufacturers because they're overtaken by imports. So we have to consider that. The only problem is in the Philippines, we have a lot of debts, and the debts will multiply with the exchange rate of Philippine debts. And the other thing is our import products will be more expensive, especially in Christmas. You probably have to forget importing a lot of apples and whatever there is, and substitute it with local. Even
let's tease that out, Serge, because a lot of industries get impacted, good and bad, with a falling peso. In terms of exports, how are Philippine exports to the U.S. now looking if we consider Trump's tariffs that came into effect in August?
Well, 1%. Are you talking about the 1%? No, the reciprocal tariff. Well, when we started, we were 20. We were brought down to 17. We were increased to 19. All our competitors in ASEAN were in the vicinity of 35%. They're all down to even lower. And there are 3 countries now: Malaysia, I think, and Cambodia, and that were given zero tariff in a lot of so we become more competitive. So I think we have to really look for other markets from the U.S. Our share in our export share for the U.S. is about 15% of our export, half of which is electronics. And from the U.S. point of view, that is 1/5 of 1% of their imports. So it's really not, it shows that we're not really doing great with the U.S. Despite our being close allies.
But now that you've mentioned 60, do you think the target for semiconductor exports might be met? The semiconductor industry of the Philippines just said that they're seeing a single-digit growth in exports this year.
For this year, I think it will still be bad. But we are worried about what they're going to do. Every week they change direction. So they might be giving our competitors like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, some boost in electronics. And because they have manufacturing in the U.S., and I think that's the rule, We don't really our electronics industry here is basically U.S. Visitors, so they might just decide to leave us.
Well, let's pick up on the remittances. As you mentioned, it's going to be pretty good if the peso falls further, because a weaker peso is really a boon for those remitting money at home. But we're aware that Trump's big, beautiful bill comes to effect on January 1st of next year. So that means a levy of 1% tax on all the outbound remittances coming to the Philippines. So what is that going to mean for remittances to the Philippines originating from the U.S.?
Well, a big portion, but not anymore. Like before, it looks like all the remittances come from the US because it passes through the Bank of New York, no? But now I think a lot of them are coming from directly from the other countries, not anymore going to the US. So I don't think the 1% tariff on it will make much difference to the OFWs remitting.
All right. Well, that's pretty good news. But you did mention the imports of fruits like apples during this Christmas season. What do you think a weaker purchasing power for consumers and employees here would mean, especially at a time of Christmas when a lot spend for food, more for food and gifts to celebrate the season?
The only problem that we will have a problem is we import mostly our fuel, and that will be affected. We are just about the only country here, I guess, who does not support our fuel industry. As a matter of fact, we even subsidize it by the percentage that we have to add to support the coconut industry, I think. I think with all the money that we can save from the corruption, I guess we can afford anything. The government can start subsidizing fuel now and take away some of the tariffs that are put on fuel, so that we can be, it doesn't have to affect the lives of our people.
Well, picking up on what you said, you've just had your fellow colleague Butch Guerrero come on this program yesterday, and he made a mention that a lot of the problem right now stems from the fact that there used to be visitors from overseas coming to the Philippines to try and want to invest here, but now nobody is visiting us. With a weaker peso, do you think that that might be an incentive for foreign investors to come back, despite the corruption allegations?
You know, exchange rate is not such a big thing for investors. These are things that they leave on a national, just prohibiting sudden changes. No, you know, in 2023, in the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, we have what, 2, 3 visitors, investors coming in, but they began to disappear, especially with the xenophobia that we started. The Chinese investors, I think, who was going big, going to overtake a lot of the big investors here, has disappeared. Some even who are investing are leaving us, no? And there is no replacement that we see. Before, when we try to go with the president to attract investor, beginning with the FBR at the time when he invited semiconductor industries and they came here, those were the glorious days of export. Now, there's hardly anyone coming to visit and investors, and if they do, it's really exploratory, but it's based on the fact that we are looked at as very politically unstable at the moment, and the corruption issue, I think, has spread all over the world, and everybody knows it. So if you're choosing investment, I guess the last choice will be the Philippines until we solve this problem. Unfortunately, we're very slow in doing this. While I know that the president is trying to do its best to do this, but there's a lot of agency in the government who are not showing that they're in step with it. Just to give you an example, the Bureau of Immigration, very difficult for, I don't know, we simplified the immigration process in other, here is very difficult. There's even one example that bothers the business sector. one of our members, Joseph C., who is now under detention, despite the fact that there is an order for him to be released by the lower court, by the Court of Appeals. They refused because they said they have new evidence. Well, there's a process for that. They have to release him and file cases, whatever, if they have new evidence. You know, in AI, uh, it's so easy to produce evidence. Maybe those are evidences that cannot stand in real court.
Okay.
Maybe they can.
Well,
Yes.
we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much, Serge, for your insights. I much appreciate it. Sergio Ortiz-Luis Jr. of PCCI, ECOP, and PhilExport as the peso falls anew to a record of 59.15 to the dollar.